we have a Lord Black Panther in our backlines, we can't do anything.
Oh, don't worry, we'll adjust. We'll be able to counter it. We'll protect you.
A few moments later.
Oh, fuck yeah! This is the shit! Kill me now!
How scary is each Lord in Marvel Rivals? That moment you queue into a game and see the other team with a specific Lord, some of them you brush off and some of them terrify you, don't lie. So in this video, I'm going to be ranking each Lord and how scary they are, going from not scary at all, to moderate or meh, to a higher scary level, then extreme, and then for the very rare cases, fucking cooked. If a Lord icon is fucking cooked status, that means that 9 times out of 10, if you're playing against this Lord, you're getting your ass cooked. And a little disclaimer before I start the video, obviously I know that just because you have a Lord icon in any character doesn't make you good. At the end of the day, it's more time investment than anything. But this video is going to be based off the generalization of each Lord, the average player, not the exception. And I'll use a character as an example, and the first character I'm going to talk about in this video, the Captain America Lord. I'll talk about him first, since in the last video, he was, well, last. And when it comes to Captain America, he gets the cooked status. 9.9 times out of 10 when you run into a Captain America Lord, your backline is about to have the worst time of their lives. And even if you manage to squeak out a win, it's not going to be fun for anyone. Playing against a Captain America Lord is the equivalent of playing against the early 2000s Detroit Pistons or early 2000 New Jersey Devils. It's a nightmare. Nobody's having a good time. And win or lose, you're leaving this match feeling miserable and defeated. Seriously, these guys don't mess around. They know all his animation cancels. They never die. You think the nerfs slowed them down? Pfft. These Lords have been in the trenches since the beginning of the game when Captain America was considered bad. You think a little nerf's gonna stop them? Please. I remember a game not too long ago in Ranked where we had a good Captain America Lord on our team. And I'll admit, we all played pretty decent, but he carried. And he said nothing all game. And when we steamrolled the other team, all he said in the chat at the end was, "On your left." And I died laughing. Very rarely will you run into a bad Captain America Lord. There are some out there, but it's very rare. Next, we have Iron Fist. Another one going into the fucking cooked category. If this would have been a season or two ago, I probably would have ranked him lower, because Iron Fist wasn't nearly as much of a threat. But even the Iron Fist Lords were still dangerous. You could not turn a blind eye to them. But now it's on a completely different level. It's not like the Human Torch, who recently got good, but the Human Torch hasn't even been out that long. Human Torch has only been out since the second half of last season, and yeah, the Human Torch was considered a bad character, but they haven't been out long enough, and not nearly as scrutinized. When it comes to Iron Fist though, they've been sitting in the basement since day one of this game. Just sitting there stewing. Everyone calling them the worst dive character, the worst melee character, all the negativity surrounding Iron Fist. Anytime you try to lock in Iron Fist in quick play or competitive, people ask you to switch, you're throwing. The only thing an Iron Fist Lord is throwing are these hands, and you're about to catch these hands and there's nothing you can do about it. The best way I can describe an Iron Fist Lord is that scene with Batman and Bane.
Oh, you think darkness is your ally? You merely adopted the dark. I was born in it, molded by it. I didn't see the light until I was already a man. By then it was nothing to me but blinding.
When it comes to Emma Frost, I think ranking her at a high threat level is a fair placement, since most Emma Lords that I run into, you get a mixed bag. And there's a ton of Emma players out there that don't have her at Lord that are still insanely good just because they're good players, and picked up this character recently. The Emma Frost Lord is less scary in the game, and more scary if you're a taxpayer, because if they unlocked Emma Frost this quickly, they're definitely unemployed. and need to go touch some grass or have a shower. This character hasn't even been out that long. How do you have her at Lord already? Go outside. But all joking aside, I think ranking her high is a fair placement, since some of them will actually delete you within a second of turning in their crystallized form. I have personally played with some damn good Thor players over the months of playing this game, but when it comes to running into a Lord Thor, I think the threat level's pretty moderate. It's usually a very mixed bag of what you're gonna get. And although some of them are pretty damn good, none of them are so good that it stands out where it actually scares me. Especially if the Thor's on the other team. You will get the odd one that's ridiculously good, purely targeting the backlines, but for the most part, I think Thor is a pretty medium threat level, and on average, not overly scary. However, I think it's fair pointing out that that's not a lack of skilled Thor players in their skill level, but rather Thor itself kinda needs some buffs, and I think he's the next tank due for some. He is a tank that I feel deserves his time to shine as one of the best and more threatening tanks in the game. And I can totally see halfway through this season, or maybe season 3, Thor getting some buffs and being one of the most dangerous tanks in the game, significantly raising how scary he would be. However, when that happens, you Thor mains better be ready for him to be permanently banned. That just comes with the territory. When it comes to Scarlet Witch, this one makes me laugh, but also kills me inside at the same time because I am a Scarlet Witch Lord among other Lords I have, but the threat level is obviously low, let's be honest. And again, it feels like I'm taking a jab at myself, which is why I've expanded my hero pool since learning this character. She was obviously the first DPS I ever played. She's a very easy, user-friendly character. I have never played hero shooters before, so she was a good stepping stone into this game. But I feel like Scarlet Witch has gotta be one of the most popular Lords out there, and for a reason. I think the cherry on top for me was I had a friend that recently got into the game like 3 weeks ago, and they already have nearly a Lord Scarlet Witch. And after playing the game for like a couple hours, they landed on Scarlet Witch as their main, go figure. I was always telling myself that, you know, Scarlet Witch is a lot harder than people realize. And then when my buddy said, yo, I like Scarlet Witch, I feel like I'm getting some kills and like I'm doing pretty decent. That was when I could no longer deny the fact that, yeah, I gotta get some more DPSs under my belt. Not to say that there aren't some terrifying Scarlet Witches out there, and I myself have carried some games with Scarlet Witch, but overall, yeah, let's not kid ourselves, threat level, low. Since we already mentioned him in the video, we might as well talk about the Human Torch. And Human Torch is another character that got a nice glow up from the end of last season to the beginning of this one. But you still don't see a lot of Human Torch Lords out there because most of the Human Torch players you see now just started picking him up because he's good in meta. And because of the new rank system and the points, he is a good character to pick up. But a Human Torch Lord that spent the time learning this character, mastering this character, last season already coming into this season, you're gonna get
torched. Ha! Get it?
In my honest opinion, I think Human Torch Lords are not quite cooked level scary, but for season 2 where they are right now while making this video, extremely scary for sure. I think that's fair. Human Torch still has a lot of counters, and a good Hela or a Hawkeye is going to snip them right out of the air. Even a good Scarlet Witch is not going to have much of a problem taking care of them, but if left uncontested, they will run the entire game. Make no mistake. Lord Hela players are definitely in the rank of you're fucking cooked. Actually, if I could make a specific rank even higher than the highest rank in this video for how scary a Lord is, Hela would probably be in there. Hela could be argued to be the scariest Lord in the game. But what's funny about this Lord is you're not even gonna see it until you reach tier 1 diamond or above. And I'm not gonna lie, anytime there's been a Lord Hela either on my team or the other team, that team usually wins almost always. They rarely miss. And nobody's lording Hela unless their aim's at least really good. And it usually goes something like this. You poke your head out for a second, you try to heal your team, do whatever, you blink, and you're waking up in the spawn again. So obviously when it comes to Hela Lords, they are in the cooked rank for how terrifying they are. And I know these videos, no one's ever going to completely agree with my opinions on these, but I don't think anyone's going to argue this one. The only thing really annoying about a Hela Lord is they're probably going to try and sell you some aiming coach lessons. The Spider-Man Lord is an interesting one because you get all ends of the spectrum. I'm actually going to rank the Spider-Man Lord as a between medium and high scary level, right in between, because you get so many different Spider-Man. Spider-Man can ruin your entire game, they can be complete dog shit. Sometimes it's nice to have a Spidey on your team, sometimes it's not. Most of the times they don't flex or switch to any other characters, but sometimes they do. Half the time Spider-Man's a nuisance because he's so good on the other team and it's hard to heal. Then there are times where Spider-Man's a nuisance because they're on your team and not doing anything. Sometimes they're on your team and they're really good in carrying, or they're on the other team and you can't do anything, they're that good. So take your pick. Almost any way you slice it, it's annoying. And although Spider-Man isn't nearly as good as how much he's banned, he's mainly banned because he's a headache for having on your team and against. And very rarely solo queuing where you have enough team coordination to even counter a good Spider-Man. You should just count your blessings that your team's not fighting amongst themselves, let alone coordinating a good Spider-Man attack. Ultimately, I know you Spider-Man mains get a lot of flack, but I won't lie. I grew up watching Spider-Man, all the movies, the cartoons, but I'm starting to finally realize why J. Jonah Jameson fucking hates him, and why the Green Goblin tried to kill Aunt May. It's all kind of making sense now.
He's a menace to the entire city. I want that wall-crawling arachnid prosecuted. I want him strung up by his web. I want Spider-Man!
In terms of Doctor Strange and how scary they are, I would say on average a Doctor Strange is ranked high. They are pretty damn scary, but not quite extreme or cooked level. The vast majority of the time you have a Lord Doctor Strange on your team, you're guaranteed to have at least one really good tank. And Doctor Strange Lords can usually flex a lot of different characters. And although this is the roughest season for Doctor Strange so far, Doctor Strange Lords are still not to be slept on. While we're on the topic of tanks, if you see a Thing Lord, you're not quite cooked, but it's extreme. I have yet to see a Thing Lord that doesn't take space as they damn well please, immediately targeting the healers going for the back line and creating so much havoc and space that your team can easily just roll right in. But when you're on the receiving end of that, it makes you want to smash your controller. I primarily play Invisible Woman, and it doesn't matter if you turn invisible and try to hide for your life. The Thing is going to wind up and fucking clobber you. Probably stun you first though, for good measure. Ah yes, the Loki Lord. They are extremely scary to play against, and they're very nice to have on your team. Their clone placement is usually on point, they're good at mastering and managing their cooldowns, and they can DPS better half the time than their actual DPS, sniping Iron Man out of the sky, and just pulling their weight and then some. And they're shifty bastards, they're very, very hard to kill, and if their clone placements are really good, have fun trying to track them down. They can definitely carry games. I mean, there's a reason why Loki is considered one of the best strategists in the game. What's funny about this Lord though is even though they can carry games, very rarely do people recognize it until it's too late. By the time you're already cooked in the match, people start waking up and saying, oh man, that Loki, we gotta start targeting him. Like, you think? Ah yes, Cloak and Dagger, the most common Lord in the game. And I hate to say this, but this is probably the least scary Lord icon in the game to run into. Mainly because it's so common, it's common to the point where you will see a Cloak and Dagger Lord icon more than the default one, by far. I might be exaggerating a little bit, but I don't even honestly think I am. I genuinely believe half the player base has this Lord icon. Mainly because if you have to flex, a healer, Cloak and Dagger is the easiest one to pick up. And out of all the Cloak and Dagger Lords out there, very, very few of them are an actual Cloak and Dagger main, where they play this character 95% of the time or higher. But I will give credit where it's due. Playing a really, really good Cloak and Dagger that mains this character is a nightmare to deal with, and they can DPS very well. And they're incredibly hard to kill. And they almost never waste their cooldowns. And, to boot, they charge their ultimates up so freaking fast. I remember once playing Domination and the match just started like it was the first round. Cloak and Dagger on the other team popped their ultimate within like not even a minute of the game, and everyone on my team started laughing. We're like, what? how? There wasn't even much of a fight yet to farm healing yet. It's crazy sometimes how fast they can farm their ultimate. But overall, yeah, the least scary lord in the game. Hate to say it. When it comes to Squirrel Girl lords, I would say they're ranked about moderate in terms of how scary they are. Because yes, if you leave a Squirrel Girl lord unchecked, they will absolutely farm damage. But as somebody that plays both Scarlet Witch and Magik, I don't find it hard at all to single them out and put pressure on them, not allow them to get set up and just farm damage. So overall, I don't think they're that dangerous, and the further you climb up the rank system, I feel you're gonna run into less and less. I guess a really good interesting way to put it in parallel is this. From bronze all the way up to diamond, maybe even grandmaster, you'll probably run into your fair share of Squirrel Girl lords, but from grandmaster up, probably not that much. The exact opposite is true for Hela lords. You rarely see them from bronze up until Grandmaster, but after that you see them a lot more. I even considered putting the Squirrel Girl Lord at low, but there are some Lord Squirrel Girls out there that can actually aim, headshot you, and there's nothing you can do about it. They are out there. It's just rare to find them. Kills me to say it, but Squirrel Girl Lords on average are a poor man's Hela. But Squirrel Girl Lords get the last laugh because they're actually employed and have a life. A Lord Winter Soldier is definitely ranked at the extreme. They are terrifying, and even when Winter Soldier gets little nerfs, it doesn't really slow them down all that much. If they're gonna kill you a bunch, grapple you, you're gonna hear that ultimate pop off for the next fucking 20 minutes it's gonna feel like. We all know the sound of hearing that again. That shit keeps me up at night. The Winter Soldier is just such a versatile, well-rounded character, and the lords of this character have just figured it out. So yeah, across the boards in all ranks, extremely scary for sure. Star-Lord Lords, there it is again, tongue twister. They are ranked high. I don't find them extremely scary. You're definitely not cooked, but the entire match is going to be monotonous. Because a Lord, Star-Lord is very good at maneuvering, using their cooldowns to get away, they're hard to kill, they're going to be a pest the entire match. It's much less scary and more monotonous and annoying, especially since he got a little bit of nerfs in Season 2. The only time Star-Lord becomes extremely scary or borderline cooked is when they pop that ultimate. When you hear a Star-Lord pop the ultimate, it's like a nuclear siren going off. You just duck and cover wherever you can find shelter and hope for the best. When it comes to Invisible Woman, it's hard not to be biased because that is my main in this game, and it feels like most people don't use this character to their potential, but honestly when it comes to an Invisible Lord, I cannot justify ranking them higher than moderate. I think Invisible Woman is much better at handling dive characters than we realize. Also with her shields, you can actually block off a lot of offensive ultimates, changing the tide of a game, and using your force fields to save teammates, draw enemy tanks closer, pushing people off the map. There's a lot of really interesting ways you can use this character. She has more utility than actually gets utilized most of the time. Since I find her to be a very common lord, most of the lords of Invisible Woman are just filling as their secondary flex healing pick, but ultimately on average, not overly scary. The Groot Lord is a very extremely skilled person. You very rarely see a bad Groot Lord, and they are obviously extremely scary. And I think them being extremely scary is a fair placement. I don't think you're quite cooked with one of them because, well, one, they're banned every game now, but two, Groot does have some viable counters in the game. Characters that can destroy his walls quicker. Flying characters are pretty effective against Groot and his walls. Wolverine shreds Groot. Groot does have quite a few counters, but a Groot Lord will be a nightmare to deal with even with those counters. Even after the Groot nerfs, I think he gets banned continuously still, is because most players just don't want to deal with his walls, the shenanigans, especially healers, and very rarely do people actually counter Groot. But on average, the Groot Lord is an absolute nightmare. When it comes to Iron Man lords, I've played against some extremely good Iron Man players, but on average, I don't think they're scary at all, so I'm gonna rank Iron Man moderate. I feel like there's just so many counters to Iron Man. A lot of characters can snipe him out of the sky, and Scarlet Witch can single target him out. For me personally, it feels like Iron Man is a free MVP if I'm playing Scarlet Witch. I know people that play Iron Fist even love playing against an Iron Man, or a Hawkeye, Hela, Punisher. The only time an Iron Man Lord becomes extremely scary is when they're uncontested. But that's just a result of your team being bad, rather than the Iron Man being that scary of a character in general. So I think ranking Iron Man at medium is fair. Even though this is the internet, and you should be able to take an opinion without having your feelings hurt, I still feel bad about this one, but when it comes to the Penny Lord, I personally think this could contest Cloak and Dagger for being the least scariest Lord in the game. So this Lord is definitely ranked low for how scary they are. I have been playing this game since it came out. I have watched numerous content on this game. I am a part of different communities. Never have I even seen or heard of a Penny taking over a game to the point where it scares the shit out of everyone. Penny really does capitalize on how much the other team is uncoordinated, not working as a team, doesn't communicate, not even paying attention. It's really not that hard to take out her nest, avoid her mines, and then at that point, she's a sitting duck that can farm. You can switch to Hawkeye, Hela, Squirrel Girl, Human Torch, Iron Man. There's an endless amount of characters you could switch to just absolutely farm on her, and there's nothing she can do about it. I'm not saying Penny's a bad character and that the lords of this character are bad, it's just the circumstance of the character. There are really good Penny players out there, and sometimes she's an excellent pick for defense or the scenario that you're in. Offensively though, I think she's abysmal. And unless the enemy team sucks and just never pays attention to your mines, there is no reason why anyone ever should be scared of a Penny Lord. Maybe they'll continue to buff her and I'll eat my words in the future, but for right now in Season 2, I'll die on that hill. And I play a lot of Penny. I think she's fun and I think she's a great character. Oh man, I don't even want to talk about this one. What can I say that hasn't been said already? In terms of how scary a Jeff Lord is, I think ranking them high is fair. It's not an extreme or cooked level of scary since Jeff is manageable, he's counterable, but in terms of how frustrating it's gonna be, Jeff ranks higher than God itself. Because win or lose, it's going to be a terrible, terrible, unfun time for you. This is how it's gonna go. The Jeff Lord on the other team, they're gonna play triple healers. Jeff is gonna be in your backlines all game. They're gonna be unkillable, and it's gonna make your time miserable. And that's not even counting if they have other dive characters. I once played as Invisible Woman, where we had a really good Jeff and Cap in our backlines all fucking game. And people are still yelling at me, where are the heals? Oh, some healing would be nice. Oh, would it? Would you like some heals? Like, people actually underestimate how much a good DPS backlining Jeff can disrupt you because they're hard to kill. And Jeff was healing Captain America, who was already kind of unkillable, a good one. It was the most nightmarish game I ever played. But it was just so monotonous dealing with those two all game, it was a nightmare. It wasn't even worth it. And anyone that actually plays Jeff enough to lord this character, you just know that they've mastered the timing of their ultimate, and they are going to clutch so many domination matches by just taking everyone off point and suiciding themselves off the edge of the map. It's not a matter of if it happens, but when. It's inevitable. Every single individual watching this video, your lives might all be vastly different, but one consistent we can all count on is being swallowed up and spit off the edge of the map by a Jeff Lord. Mark it on your calendar, it's happening, and you can't do anything about it. We all like to think it's not gonna happen to me. I'll avoid it, I'll figure it out, I'll be ready for it. No, you're lying to yourself. The only chance you have against a really good Jeff Lord on the other team is if you have a Loki Lord and they can have a battle of shenanigans, and just hope your Loki Lord pulls through.
You can't keep getting away with it! You can't keep getting away with it!
When it comes to running into a Mantis Lord, you get mixed feelings because If you're running into a healer strategist main Mantis, I think they can be moderately scary. But if you're running into a DPS main that flexes Mantis as another lord and other character that they main, then I think they're extremely scary. So I think a happy medium and good placement is ranking Mantis at the high level. Obviously, we all know that Mr. Fantastic was considered one of the worst characters before Season 2, but even already then, the Mr. Fantastic lords, the very few of them that there were always a pain to deal with and a nightmare. And because I play a lot of Invisible Woman, having one on my team, whether competitive or quick play, was always a breath of fresh air. Their ability to be a third pseudo tank and help with divers but also push the other team's healers is immaculate. But I think now, especially with the Season 2 glow up, spotting a Mr. Fantastic Lord on the other team is extremely scary, and that's easy across all elos, except for that ultimate. That shit ain't scary at all, it's goddamn goofy. It makes me feel like I'm in a Mario game, but I'm one of the damn Goombas Mario's always jumping on.
Waha! Whoa! Yahoo! Yippee!
Talking about a Storm Lord seeing one in game, it's kinda hard to place because I could place them in the high category or moderate, depending on the circumstance. If you have people on your team that can aim decently, Storm usually isn't too much of a problem. That ultimate is still always scary, but Storm is a pretty counterable hero and not nearly as aggressive as they were in Season 1. However, more times than not, that Storm Lord you're playing against is going to be accompanied by a Human Torch Lord, especially in this season. And when that happens, good fucking luck. You better hope to God you have a great Hela on your team or Hawkeye, because the Punisher that sits in his turret ain't doing shit. And even as somebody that plays a lot of Scarlet Witch, I have no problem dealing with one of these two lords on their own, but paired together, it's an absolute goddamn nightmare. These are the moments I curse myself for not having better aim. I can already feel Iron Man Lord mains stewing in the comments. Why are we, out of all the flying characters, ranked as the least scariest lords to run into? Both Storm Lords and Human Torch Lords will understand why. I don't know what to tell you. It's one of those things where I can't tell you, they can't tell you, we all know why. You just gotta come to the realization and figure it out for yourself. When trying to place how scary a Magik Lord is, I'm going to be talking through the perspective of somebody playing against one rather than myself that is a Magik Lord. I've played many games as Magik where I've completely taken over the game. Magik is a character that you can do this, cause the enemy backlines grief all game. But there are also games where you struggle as Magik. And Season 2 itself is a very tough season for Magik players, with Emma Frost, Human Torch now being a lot better, Storm still being good, Iron Man buffed, both a good Namor and Penny being very hard to play against. But even so, I still believe Magik, generally speaking, to be highly scary to play against when you see that Magik Lord. And because Magik is the type of character that you absolutely need to put time into practice to learn how she's supposed to be played, not just her combos but her positioning, how to approach the backlines and how to approach the fight, how to brawl properly with the other tanks without dying with her low HP, I think her threat level is genuinely high for the average Magik Lord. Adam Warlock Lords? And I'm not even biased because my name is Adam, you're fucking cooked. One of the easiest placements in the video. Probably a lot of people will disagree with me on this, but you have to understand. An Adam Warlock Lord will delete you almost as fast as a Hawkeye or Hela will. And they can save their entire team from an enemy ultimate. These guys are no joke. People keep sleeping on them. A really good Adam Warlock is a nightmare to try to kill. Not just because they're elusive like Jeff or Loki or even Rocket. No. Because if you miss your combos, they'll kill you instantly. And that's not to say that they already soul bonded, so your chances of killing them have just gone down. And I think Adam Warlocks are only going to get more dangerous as they get buffs and more tweaks to their kit. Not to mention that team up they got is still scary. And I always find it a rare welcome treat to have an Adam Warlock on my team. The Black Widow Lord. A very interesting one to talk about because when you actually see a Black Widow Lord, it's probably the only time anyone plays Black Widow where the rest of their team don't assume that they're trying to throw the game and get upset. And even then, some of your teammates might be bitter that you have a Black Widow Lord and you selected them. And although I'm kinda torn to do this, I'm still gonna put Black Widow Lord as a low threat level, and they're not really that scary in general since you can adapt to them and dive them. I have played against some Black Widow Lords that were extremely skilled and hard to deal with. And I feel Black Widow as a character is only gonna keep getting more buffs and buffs and buffs until ultimately she's gonna be a character that we're banning all the time. I can see it happening now within the next 2 seasons. She's slowly getting more and more buffs, she's getting better and better, and Black Widow players are getting more and more skilled. You could make an argument that she's much scarier than I'm ranking her, but if a top 500 player is playing Black Widow, they're just a really good player. Any character that they play is going to be cracked. On average though, despite there being some very good Black Widow players out there, she is ultimately at the end of the day, one of the least scariest characters in the game. Speaking of one of the least scariest lords in the game, and I know this one's gonna ruffle some feathers, but I don't care. Actually, I'm excited about it. A Lord Punisher is ranked low, and that is an easy decision for me. You might think that's crazy, like what? But remember, this is not a tier list of ranking characters how good they are, how viable they are, their max potentials, how versatile they are, none of that. This is just how scary a Lord is in general. And I don't find Punisher Lords scary in the slightest. However, there are some scary Punisher players out there, downright terrifying. Pretty much immediately when you go to fight a Punisher, you realize right away if they're really good or not. A vast majority of the time, I feel it's the standard Punisher that's more scary than the Lord. The Lord Punisher to me, but to me at least, and from what I see online, Lord Punishers are usually decent but not scary at all, and pretty easy to deal with. And again, I say this a lot in the video, but that's not to say there aren't some absolutely terrifying Lord Punishers out there, but I find more times than not. The Punisher that's very strategic with his turret, using his team up with Rocket, his zipline, is immaculate with his shotgun, and dealing with flankers and divers, is usually not even a Lord Punisher, but just a really good player that's flexing Punisher. I don't know, again, this might be a hot take, but I'm sticking with it. Also, if you're able to recognize why this song specifically is playing while I'm talking about Punisher, you are one of the real ones. This is another one that I think I'm gonna get some flack on, but honestly, I think Magneto Lords are moderately scary. Usually when you have one on your team or play against one, you know that you're gonna be playing against a good tank or have a good tank on your team. But never do I get the feeling of, aw shit, like this is gonna be rough, or this game's going to be a pain in the ass or a nightmare. I don't get that dread feeling whatsoever. But at the same time, you also don't get that dread feeling of having one on your team like you do with Spider-Man or a Lord Squirrel Girl or something like that, where you just hope and pray that they're decent and don't throw your game. You know if you get a Magneto Lord on your team, they're going to be super decent, and you guaranteed have a really good tank. So you get that very mutual moderate feeling. Unless you're a Cloak and Dagger Lord, then I'm assuming this motherfucker is probably one of the scariest characters in the game for you, since they're always beaming you with their ultimate. But if you are a frequent Cloak and Dagger player, you should feel honored and special because Magneto, 99% of the time, is saving his ultimate just for you. And like we talked about, because Cloak and Dagger is one of the most common strategist flexes picked, Magneto mains are eating good with that ultimate. Luna Snow is also another character that I feel is moderately scary. You can run into some damn good Luna Snow Lords that have insanely good aim, know how to use their freeze ability in the most opportune time to stop divers or stop and stun ultimates, but it's kind of like the same boat as Invisible Woman. There's also a lot of frauds that are flexing this character but don't have them at the max potential. And even though Luna Snow could be argued to have the best ultimate in the game, I don't know. I feel like you just come to expect it every single match. Every team's gonna have at least 2 healer ults, for the most part. And let's be honest, her healer ult isn't scary in the slightest. I mean, a character doing this in the middle of a match can only scare you so much. A Hulk Lord is extreme. Easy placement. There's a reason this guy gets banned frequently off and on. He's banned every game right now pretty well, very commonly, not as much as Groot, but then there'll be a stretch of time where he isn't, then he is, then he isn't. Every single person that plays this game has a main, and it's optional whether you want to have flex characters or not, but when it comes to Hulk Lord mains, you don't have an option, you have to flex. because your character is banned in droves. And I feel bad because Hulk gets banned a lot by association to nerf Iron Man and Namor. But every now and then, Hulk slips through the cracks of being banned, and you run into a Hulk Lord, and they are an absolute menace. Not just smashing everything in sight, but they're able to shield their team, stun you at the most opportune time. Healers don't like dealing with this guy, tanks don't like dealing with this guy, DPS don't like dealing with this guy. And soon as you think you just about killed him, finally, their HP just tickling 0, they're gonna pop their ultimate. Ugh. I'm not afraid to admit that when I see a Hulk Lord on the other team, I'm a little bit shook. But what's funny is the last time I did a video talking about Lord stereotypes and what your Lord says about you, I had quite a few comments asking me about Banner Lord mains, which I dismissed right away. What the hell are you talking about? Banner is Hulk. But some people said no, some people just main Banner. Like they don't even transform. And I'm like, what? And again, I dismissed it. That's crap. Those comments are obviously trolling. But after that video, I actually ran into Banner mains twice. And these are people that only play Bruce Banner. They will not transform into the Hulk, or they very rarely do. So for 90% or sometimes 100% of the game, they are only playing Bruce Banner. This type of behavior should be punishable by death. It's diabolical, it's blasphemy. Like, you can't be having fun doing this. But at the same time, I can't help but chuckle a little bit. What kind of sick son of a bitch would do that? It's a universal unwritten rule that when you're upset with your team, you insta-lock Black Widow. To tell them without telling them, hey, I'm throwing the game. But I think insta-locking Bruce Banner and never transforming is the real way to really show your team that you're upset and you're throwing the game. Now I kind of regret saying that, so I think Bruce Banner Lords, it kind of goes without saying where they're placed. Oh, Hawkeye Lords? You're fucking cooked. Easy. Next. No, but seriously, do I need to explain this one? Soon as I get a Hawkeye Lord on my team, I turn on my mic and I'm like, hey, Your Highness, Your Majesty, what do you need me to do? Do you need me to heal? What tank do you want me to play? Do you need me to play anti-dive to protect you? Whatever it is you need, because we're getting that dub, and I just want to help out any way I can. But all joking aside, never once playing this game have I ever seen or even heard of a bad Hawkeye Lord. If the other team has a Hawkeye Lord, I usually try to pick Magik and deal with them. And even having a clear advantage as Magik, if you miss your combo even once and you're not extremely careful sneaking up on them, you're dead. You're dead, dead, dead. I've even had my ultimate popped as Magik Dark Child, and I get instant one-shotted immediately while I'm flailing around using my portals. What can you do in that situation? Probably one of the lords that I respect the most, because even though it's rage-inducing dying by a Hawkeye, especially if it's a one-shot, you can't help but respect it because it's not like Squirrel Girl accidentally doming you with pure luck, or a Scarlet Witch auto-locking you, catching you off guard, and they get the kill. You can't really feel cheesed after dying to a Hawkeye. They just flat out snipped you. All you can do is just get used to waking up in spawn very frequently and try to mitigate it best you can. So yeah, cooked. Cooked, cooked, cooked. Gordon Ramsay. Namor. Where should I put you? I don't know, maybe this is just me, but I feel like every time I play with Namor or see Namors, they act as an anti-dive. But when you play with or against a Namor Lord, they try to flank a bunch. They're in your back lines. It's like soon as you get that Lord icon unlocked, they completely change their playstyle. But I feel Namor also kind of lives or dies with the team up, whether it was with Luna Snow before or now with the Hulk, who's banned a shit ton. A true Namor Lord will not need the team up to be very good and effective, so I do feel that ranking them high is a fair placement. Personally, I don't find them that scary since I just shoot their squids immediately, and it makes them so much less effective, but there are some Namor Lords out there that will absolutely dome you from a distance. Good old Moon Knight. I don't even think the Moon Knight Lords and mains out will even argue with me on this. They're ranked low. A Moon Knight Lord is equally as scary as a regular Moon Knight. If they're good, then they're good. I really don't find even the slightest difference in their gameplay. It's all the same shit. Somebody made an excellent parody of what it's like to be a Moon Knight Lord, and it honestly sums it up perfectly. I'll leave a link in the description. And again, it's not to say that there aren't some incredibly skilled and scary Moon Knight players out there, but I feel in general, even the adequate or decent Moon Knights, once you figure out their whole shtick and what they're up to, it's easily counterable. And this just becomes more and more true the higher you climb. Black Panther, despite not even being ranked high in a tier list on a consistent basis, a Black Panther Lord icon should be a goddamn hazard warning. Because unlike a Spider-Man Lord where you don't know what you're gonna get, a Black Panther Lord you know exactly what you're getting and it's not gonna be fun for you if you're on the receiving end, especially if you're a healer. They'll kill you in the blink of an eye, and that is not even an exaggeration. The thing about Black Panther is you can't fuck up his combos, or you're dead. He has a very high skill ceiling to master, but a Black Panther Lord has mastered that. They know every inch of the map, the health packs, when to strike, when to get the fuck out of there, managing their cooldowns. By the time you can start to hear one coming, it's too late, and it requires a lot of teamwork and coordination to counter one. And that's not even counting if there's a team up with Magik also in your backlines, or a Spider-Man, Venom, Captain America, or whatever. Yeah, I have yet to see a Black Panther Lord that doesn't absolutely delete healers in the blink of an eye. I feel like people are gonna get mad at me for this one, but Rocket Raccoon is not scary at all. Seeing a Rocket Raccoon Lord just means that they're gonna be hard to kill, elusive, be a solid healer for the other team. But I don't find that's something to really be feared, and that's pretty common to find within any given match, especially competitive. If the enemy team has very crappy healers, then that's just a bonus. Count yourself lucky. Matchmaking blessed you that day. But Rocket Raccoon isn't going to be a game changer that scares the shit out of you like a good Loki, a good Luna Snow, a Mantis that will absolutely erase you, or an Adam Warlock that beams you from across the map. And personally, somebody that plays a lot of Magik and Scarlet Witch, I don't find it really that hard to go sneak into the enemy backlines and find Rocket Raccoon's instant revive, taking that away from the enemy team. However, I will say that having a Lord Rocket Raccoon on my team is always a welcome sight, because you know you're going to get a very solid healer, get that instant revive, that ultimate that's much more viable, and you're gonna have a healer on your team that's hard to kill for the enemy divers. If this was the opposite video, where I was ranking character lords on how happy I am to see them on my team, then the Rocket Lords would probably be ranked in the highest category. Psylocke is actually a tricky one since they could go in either extreme or high. But one thing is for sure though, I have yet to see or even hear about a bad Psylocke Lord. These are people that are very faithful to the character, they play and practice her a lot, so actually rethinking it now, I think I'll rank her extreme, because at the very minimum, it's going to be a very tough time for you no matter what. And that's probably the best case scenario. And as somebody myself that plays a lot of Psylocke, she is extremely hard to kill, but also, you can't really prevent her from entering your backlines with her abilities. Even if you know it's coming, you can't stop it. And even Namor can't really shut her down completely, because she can poke at his squids from a distance, taking off angles and being an absolute disruptor. Psylocke also has no problem taking care of flying characters. Yeah, the more I think about it, she's definitely ranked extreme. And even listening to some top 500 players talk about Psylocke, it's funny. She's a character that they have to think on for a bit, but then the more they think about it, they're like, yeah, this character does cause me some headache and problems. I still also think she's one of the more slept on characters in the game. A Venom Lord's playstyle and how they go about the game would be extreme if not for their lack of damage. They can be an absolute headache to deal with, especially in the back lines, but I feel it's situational depending on the team comp. A Venom with a good Spider-Man? Good game. A Venom solo tanking? Not ideal. A Venom with 2 tanks but is solo diving? It could work. Venom is obviously a character that can't delete healers like Black Panther or Spider-Man or even Magik, but they're so hard to kill, they just linger there. And a Venom Lord especially, they're always going to dip out of there right before you get the kill, and you can count on them to be back within 10 seconds. Especially as a strategist main, this is a character that I'd like to rank high or even extreme in some cases, since I've played against some Venom Lords that have absolutely taken over the game and were unstoppable, but as a collective average I just can't really rank them higher than moderate. I get pretty excited when I have a Venom Lord on my team because I'll play Penny usually, because still nobody wants to play tank. I can hold the point then and protect the healers while the Venom dives and does his thing, but having a Venom Lord on the other team, I'd say the feeling is much less scared, with that feeling of dread like, ah shit, here we go, and more of, I wonder how this is gonna go. So I'm gonna stick with moderate overall, but just know that part of me wants to rank this Lord higher than I actually am. And due to process of elimination, leaves us with the Lord Wolverine. This is how I want to rank Wolverine. I think everyone understands what this means. It's self-explanatory, but ultimately the crossbones were saving Wolverine a spot under your cooked. Because even if you know all the right counters to Wolverine, people had to spend the entirety of last season having to deal with this guy. The few times he wasn't permanently banned, but a Lord Wolverine won't just kidnap the tanks. These fuckers will kidnap the healers no problem and delete them. They will kidnap just about any DPS. And no, you're not excluded from that just because you play a flying DPS like Iron Man. They'll kidnap you too. Probably one of the rarest Lords to find in the game, but it's always a treat to run into a Lord Wolverine, and no matter which team they're on, it's gonna be one hell of a fucking game. Now, if you've made it this far into the video, you probably noticed that Spider-Man is the only character very awkwardly placed between high and moderate, which that placement alone has probably rubbed many people the wrong way. They've probably already left an angry comment about it. And some people are probably extra mad because they have OCD and he stands out like a sore thumb on my nicely made chart here. But this is actually not Spider-Man's true placement. It's a lie. I lied. Do you really think I'd put one of the most banned, most hated, most notorious characters in this place? Are you serious? No, no, no. There's only one true placement for the Spider-Man Lord, and it's unanimous.